What's going on, y'all? It's Greg. Greg said it. Y'all, as I always say, this thing never ends. You know, it's a new thing going on. It's not really new. I've talked about it before in one fashion or another. And it's really reminds me of the core of why I started the Greg Said It channel. And just really what made me talk and what made me want to speak during the times where really I wanted to start around Jackson State. But once they got to Colorado, just the odds that they were up against, it really made me want to fight for the underdog. And I think that's what attract America and a lot of people to the underdog. I think most people have a sense of when people are mistreated, and some people have a bias. You know, they can see when certain people are being mistreated and not others. But I'm a person, I have a sense, period. It's not based off of one particular group or another. The truth is the truth, right is right. And, you know, this thing with Shedeur is it's getting old, but it's not going to be old. It's not going to end. He's going to have to go through his whole life, really, but definitely through his athletic career, because people feeling towards him, his family, his dad, his last name. And it's some jealousy there. It's some jealousy of the type of money he has. People think he's smug, you're cocky, arrogant, you know. And, you know, his dad had the persona, and a lot of people confuse that with him because his public persona to help him build a brand and name, and it worked. And his sons kind of, not as much, but they kind of play along with that brand and just continue that on. So, of course, some of that rolls over to them. And Shedeur, definitely, because he is that guy in the spotlight. He is that guy who, I mean, at this point, he's one of the top guys that's going to be going into the NFL. And now people are trying to talk that down. And it's not new because they started doing that. I remember his first season for sure. Can he do it? Is he good enough? He did it at a FCS school. And then when he did it, I remember going into this last season, I remember them already starting to speak down on his draft stock, and it's like he just had a decent season. He's one of the forerunners potential for the Heisman, and I thought that wasn't gonna not be able to be stopped, but sure enough they did. And so, you know, you can't overlook and can't underestimate what these people are trying to do with the draft. You know, over time you're like, they can't do that. But the reality is, they've been kind of on him for a minute. Every little thing, I mean, with the concert thing, they said that his dad made the players go to the concert to hear him rap. This silly stuff. And you should be able to see silly when silly come out. I mean, you don't really have to know a whole lot about a person unless you really got a bias yourself. You believe silly stuff, because the reality is, if you knew anything about them, you know, that don't even make sense. But from afar, and if you drink that Kool-Aid, you will believe everything about a person because it fits what you already believe about them. And maybe some of the people who talking about Shedeur, like in the media, maybe they just kind of fit into that category. They just heard some things and they're going to make a perception about him because of what they heard, or because, well, his dad do this, some say that. And, you know, his personality is a little calm, nonchalant, and he tried to tell a few jokes, you know, and he tried to do a little spin of what his dad do, you know, that confidence. He tried to add that to his repertoire as well. But for the most part, he's pretty laid back, and he speaks when he has to, but he's pretty quiet. So when you hear the people like, oh, he doesn't care, or he doesn't, you know, I knew they was going to spin it that way. I just saw his body mannerism, because he's not going to have the typical mannerism that you have, because his dad is not the typical guy. So he's not going to be the typical guy. He's not going to do press conferences the typical way. He's going to try to emulate what his dad does in a lot of ways, with just the showmanship and just the, you know, free spirit. But the thing is, I don't know, his dad was innovative. People couldn't really see him coming. He kind of created his own character, like a Muhammad Ali combination with some of the people that he grew up on. Whereas Shedeur is kind of like automatically put in the trail of his dad anyway, regardless of what he do. And then when he adds that little pizzazz to it, they're going to hit him with the same thing they hit his dad with. And his dad went through it. His dad went through suicide and ideology. I mean, he went through a lot of things. Of course, he had other personal issues going on, but he really struggled with people kind of picking at him and making comments about him, just keep coming at him. And sometimes that feeds that persona even more. He's like, okay, I'm gonna really give it to you now. And that's where we at now. I don't know where this thing is going to go, but it's just amazing how we watched him go into his senior years. One of the top returning quarterbacks. All the other ones went on NFL, and he was going head to head with those guys. Surely he was going to be the guy. But they found a way to just trying to put everybody over him, even though those guys fizzled out. But they never gave Shedeur the credit. They forget the stats, forget anything. And his team not winning it all or really doing their full potential didn't help. That's why I wanted him to win, because I know they're going to leverage everything they can against him. And then now he's going to the draft. He's not really a lot of good quarterbacks. It's not good as even last year group. You got him and Cam Ward, really. And, nobody else is really, they played on good teams, but they're not prolific quarterbacks. And we knew that coming into the season. Even though they tried to put, Beck and all these different people in here, I'm going back to school. Some of those guys going to go back for another year because they didn't have the year that they needed to have or wanted to have. But people trying to pit them against Shedeur just in spite of, just say, I'm going to use this to have something to say against you. And it's just old. It's old, but it ain't going away. And now, it's so many scenarios that you look at that this thing can go. And it seems like they all involve him moving down. Like everybody else kind of shuffle around 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. They got scenarios going him all the way down to the 29th pick. They really don't want him to have any kind of, bragging rights. Definitely don't want him to be a number 1 pick. They don't throw up every personal flaw or whatever they could. And I admit, I was the one that was on Shedeur really talking about just having that killer instinct because I knew stuff like this going to happen. You don't want to leave no room for error when you don't finish the games, when you have slow starts, or you didn't throw a whole lot of interceptions. You didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, but you took sacks. Yeah, you don't want to give people that are already after you anything because at the end of the day, that's what they're going to do. That's their intention. They're going to find a way to do it one way or another. There's no way you can really placate. There's no way you really could make them or win them over to your side because that's ultimately not an option. They've already set. They're gambling against your demise. They want to see you fail. They don't want to see you reach your goals. They don't want you to have the ability to brag and say, oh, you're just so cocky. They don't want to see you happy and smiling and throwing your wrists up. Everything you do is a problem to somebody who already got it against you. And I know the first thing people are going to say is race. And maybe some of it is. But then you have no answer unless you're going to call it race when your own people against you too. And so it's a complex situation when you really look at it. It's so many factors from his dad to him to the money to the celebrity. A lot of people in the NFL just like, you got more money than us. You in college, you got more celebrity than us. And it's like even you got the guys in the locker room you got to watch. They can be jealous of you. You don't know more than me, you young guy. How you get to come in with all the clout and tell this organization where to go? And then you got to prove yourself to these older guys and earn their respect and get past whatever insecurities or misconceptions that they have about you. Whether they got it from the media or just they out their own eyes, just looking at you and sizing you up and kind of coming up with their own opinions about you. And a lot of that is natural. That's getting to know people and, it's up to that person who's doing that to have some maturity and some sense about themselves. But, that part is somewhat natural, just meeting new people and them getting to know you. And maybe they say, man, I had you all wrong. But you got a lot of that media component, man. It's kind of tainted the jury. And unfortunately, he has to deal with all of that. They got the natural stuff and the abnormal stuff he has to get ready for. So we're going to keep an eye on this thing. It's not looking pretty, but hopefully he'll overcome it. And one way or another, he's going to get to the next level and be prepared to just put these people to shame because they're going to watch every move you make. They're going to have every criticism. It don't end right here. This is just the beginning of another level. I'm just Greg. Greg said to make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll talk to y'all soon.